Are you surprised that they've not made a signing yet? Because we know that Mark Ashton, Mr. Relentless, likes to get his business done early. He's always said that. So are you surprised that we've not seen a signing yet?
No, I think if there was like a major player that stood out or a major target, and I know that they need to work on the midfield, but I mean, I did a piece earlier this week looking at what the strongest Town team would be if the season started tomorrow. I'd be happy taking that starting lineup to Birmingham, to be perfectly honest. I think it is a strong enough group of 11 players, and I don't think it will be that 11 playing. I think that there will be signings in. I'd imagine there's a good chance it could be one or at least two new midfielders, for example. But with that in mind, I think that there's no real rush and pressure to go and get these deals done when other teams in this league aren't going out and pulling off any kind of real eye-catching moves, as she said, especially in midfield. Doyle was the only one that kind of stood out to me going to Birmingham. So I'm not really surprised, and more than anything, I'm just calm about it. I think if they can get a body through the door before we go to Austria in a fortnight, I think that would be a good enough position to be in. I just don't think that there's that much work to be done. And one of the things that Mark Ashton has spoken about is its retention over signings. And that is going to be a big thing. This squad for the level is really, really good. And the importance has to be keeping players together. Amari, Jaden Philogene, Jack Clark, who've proven what they can do at this level, rather than going and adding new players, which they will do. They will add new players before the start of the season. But I'm not worried or surprised that they haven't done it yet. It's July 3rd. It's fine.
Sorry, Mark. I was going to say, I mean, yeah, it's quality over quantity this summer, isn't it? Yes, we want players in early. Ideally, as Alex says, you get them in time for the pre-season training camp away in Austria, because that's a time to kind of bond with teammates and to kind of be drilled in the methods working under a new manager. But wanting to do things early and being able to do things early is two different things. If anyone thinks that people behind the scenes are sitting twiddling their thumbs, that's naive. Kieran McKenna was asked before the West Ham game at the end of the season, was being relegated with 4 games to go, does it provide a bit of a head start on next season, knowing what division you're in? And he said, yes, absolutely. We've had conversations with targets already. So those conversations will have been happening probably way back at the start of this calendar year, I would imagine. There will be several plates spinning. Mark Ashton has kind of talked about no holidays and relentless attitude and all that sort of stuff. And yes, there's some, dare I say, it's like David Brentism to that, but it's true. There is a really hard-working ethos behind the scenes at Ipswich Town, and that is clear. So they will be doing everything they can, but sometimes you have to wait for the dominoes to fall. Sometimes you have to wait, for example, with loan players, Premier League clubs. We've just had a summer where we've had the under-21 Euros, the Club World Cup. Then these clubs will go off to Japan and America and all their global tours, and some players might be still being given an extra rest, so they feel like they need to bring young players and fringe players as kind of squad fillers before, and they'll wait till they get players in before they let players out, and it's just a bit of a holding pattern. So Ipswich will have made sure that they're hopefully at the front of the queue for some of these sort of loan players. I think McKenna's got enough of a reputation now as a player developer that Ipswich have got that relationship now, that trust to take players. So there will be a lot of things frantically happening behind the scenes. Just a little bit of a waiting game at the moment.
I think that consistency is such an underrated thing in the Championship when you come down, where how many teams do you see get relegated? I think this will happen with both Leicester and Burnley, Leicester and Southampton this year. All of these teams blur into one sometimes, where they've got like 5, 6, 7, 8 players that have to be sold. And they're kind of like these big ticket items, big name players that have to go. Think about when Leeds came down, you saw players like Sinisterra playing and he was off, and then Nonto went on strike and they lost Tyler Adams and Rodrigo went. Burnley last year, over the summer, they had such a huge squad churn. Yeah, I know they still went on and got promoted. They lost Muric, obviously, Odebert, Sander Berge, Anna Saruri, O'Shea, Weghorst, John Egan. There's so many players that kind of had to go out at that point. With Town, you don't have that same feeling. There is now a consistent core, and I can't think of that many teams that come down from the Premier League with a consistent core of really top-end players that should be staying and aren't going to be realistically on the move this summer. So that's one of the things that excites me. Just not having a huge summer of change ahead of a relegation into a lower league, I think, can be such a big thing.
It's not as exciting, is it? But you have to remember that the step up into the Championship, how quiet that transfer window was. Because if Ipswich had effectively built their Championship squad in League One, they'd done their business in the January with Broadhead, Luongo, Harry Clark, George Hurst. Then the summer rolled round. We were all excited about who they're going to sign now as a second-tier club. And all they really did was sign Hurst permanently. Jack Taylor. Wasn't a lot else beyond that, was there? Really, in terms
Amari
of
on loan.
Yeah. Hutchinson on loans. There was bits and pieces, but it wasn't like a major summer of change, was it? They just added little bits and pieces, but really the squad was in place. And you can argue that, again, the business in preparation for this season has already happened. The signings they made last summer were realistically, pragmatically, with half an eye on the potential for relegation. They built the Championship super squad, inverted commas, at the start of a Premier League season. So kind of keeping hold of that, as Alex says, is just as important, if not more so, than adding new ones to it.
Consistency is not sexy, though, is it, boys? That's the problem. If anyone says to you, what's the best thing about this team? And you go, they're consistent. You go, doesn't really get me going. And we understand, friends, as you listen to this, summer is for signing. Signings are exciting. And I'll be honest with you as well, friends, we quite like a signing because we're starting to run out of, as you may have noticed, things to talk about and write about. So it would, a signing would be nice. But there